Good night.
Welcome to Books and Movies with James and Rahbert. I'm James.
I'm Rahbert.
And today we're going to be talking about the book The Sunset Limited and the film adaptation released by HBO in 2011. Just so everyone knows, there are a couple trigger warnings here. There's content in the book that involves depression, talk about suicide, alcohol use, and racial language. So, just so you know.
Cormac McCarthy novel, non-novel in dramatic form.
Yes, novel in dramatic form is the subtitle.
Yeah.
And there's a funny thing about that. This book came out in 2009, and if you look inside, you will see his collected works listed, all of his novels that he's written. However, if you take his more recent entry, his more recent publication, The Passenger, and you turn to the page of his collected works, The Sunset Limited is not on it. Probably because it is so subtitled, a novel in dramatic form, which basically means it reads like a play. Or a script, sort of, without all of the angles and interior, exterior shots and things like that. But it's mostly made up of dialogue, with occasional cues and depictions of action.
The two characters within the novel, they're named Black and White, and Black is an ex-con and a Christian, whereas White is a philosophy professor and atheist in philosophy,
I would say he's atheist, a militant atheist almost.
Yeah.
And a strong, firm believer in Western culture.
Right.
Up until quite recently.
Right. But yeah, they're in Black's apartment, and Black is trying to gauge his beliefs and also sort of proselytize them.
And stall for time, probably.
Yeah.
In the course of the novel, they talk about a number of things. From White's relationship with his parents to Black's experience in learning how to cook to jailhouse stories. And am I missing anything? Anything major that they discuss other than their philosophies on life and death and Christianity and non-belief?
Oh, really? Just they talk about whether White has any friends.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, they do talk about White's friends.
Yeah.
Though never once is it understood whether or not White is married. It's made clear that Black at one point had a family, but everyone he knew is pretty much gone from this earth. It's a little bit like the play Carnage, where the very beginning, the setup, you have a lot of action that's already just happened, and a big part of what's going on is one character wants to leave. It's basically a battle of wills and use of language, this novel in dramatic form. And needless to say, we both think it's very good, and Cormac McCarthy has an unbeatable skill with harnessing the power of language. Now, if you haven't read any of his books, you wouldn't know, but he, in his other novels, does a lot of painting scenery and talking about, these places in nature. But in The Sunset Limited, it's just the one setting, it doesn't change. So at the beginning, it's just a very simple layout of this very simple apartment. And then the rest of the novel is pretty much just two guys talking.
One thing I thought was interesting is that it doesn't really seem to have much of a difference in morality. It's more of a difference in their outlook on life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a matter of their philosophies.
Right. Right. He's, well, does he say he's an atheist outright, or does he just?
No, he doesn't flat out and come and say he's an atheist, but he does say he doesn't want to be loved by God.
Right. Which completely baffles Black.
Yes. Well, with Black, he's a Reformed ex-con. He's a Christian. At one point, he stated he started a ministry in prison. And White is very into Western culture, but his suicidal depression has sort of driven all the joy out of everything his life used to bring him.
He did say at one point that you can say is the culture he was attached to is fragile.
Yes.
Something like that.
He says he believed in cultural things, but the things he believed in were very frail and fragile.
Yeah, he does say that everything dies.
Yes.
So.
Again, if you're not acquainted with Cormac McCarthy's work, you would know that it is hellishly bleak. Absolutely.
Whereas Black believes that, there's an eternal life after death. But, White just kind of, well, I don't know if I guess he believes and he also desires nothingness. But do you think that Cormac McCarthy takes a side between the two characters? Or do you think...
See, I don't know. I don't know, because if we look at someone like Cormac McCarthy, who presently, I don't know about right this second, but he spends a lot of time at the Santa Fe Institute among scientists. And he did appear in, goodness gracious, I can't remember the name of the movie. It was one of those atheist documentaries. Where he just talked about mankind's love affair with science. So, I'm not really sure, but if I had to say he picks a side, I would say it's White's.
Yeah. Although Black does speak a lot more at the beginning, but I guess while White speaks a lot less, it's kind of... His words are a little more concise and poignant.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things about the character Black is he believes that salvation is for everyone. And he can't conceive of someone not wanting it. Whereas White just absolutely wants no part to play in it and just says, like you said earlier, he welcomes death.
So do you think Black generally wants to help White because he generally wants to, or do you think it's because of his religion?
He says in the book that he is, and I'm paraphrasing here, that he is compelled to help White because in his belief, God or Jesus or however he understands it, said that he is basically not allowed to let people go to hell if he can prevent it. But that's, again, I'm paraphrasing. The movie I would call a translation more than an adaptation, but we can come back to that. That's something, what's his name? Robert Rodriguez said about Sin City.
Oh, yeah.
That it was a translation and not an adaptation. So just basically copy-pasting from one medium to another. Which, in this instance, I believe, is accurate.
So White does seem genuinely thankful for the conversation with Black. When he leaves, do you think his words had any meaningful effect on White? Do you think maybe he thinks, he may be right, there might be more to life, or do you think he's past that point?
Well, I think, judging by the ending, where White just sort of walks out and we don't see the narrative follow him, it might that might be one of the reasons that the ending is left somewhat ambiguous. Or it could just be letting us know that Black is on the precipice of falling into White's world. I love ambiguous endings, and this book really takes the cake because the entire struggle between Black and White for White's existence and mortal soul, you kind of are not really sure what happens. You can make an educated guess, but it's not 100% written in stone.
I guess at that point, it's more about the conversation they had.
Yes. What was your favorite part?
I like the jailhouse story.
I love the jailhouse story. We're going to talk more about the jailhouse story when we get to the movie. But mine is when Black cooks for them.
Oh yeah.
Serves up the molasses with mango and banana.
Yeah, and what was it? Was it rhubarb?
Rutabaga.
Rutabaga.
Maybe. And then they talk about the restaurants in New York and how they cook with things like sweetbreads and things that most people would discard. And he says, anyone can make a porterhouse steak taste good. But there's a challenge in cooking with, tripe. There's a challenge in... God damn it. There is a challenge in cooking with tripe and brains. I think he says brains, I'm not sure. But I imagine there is a challenge in cooking with brains. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the movie.
Yeah.
The translation, as we put it, of the novel in dramatic form.
Which came out in 2011.
Yes, and it was directed by Tommy Lee Jones, who plays White. And one of the things that is, and I'm totally going to sound like I'm from the Stone Age here, great about getting the DVD is you get commentary with Samuel L. Jackson, Tommy Lee Jones, and Cormac McCarthy as well. And if you're unfamiliar with him and his reputation, you would know that he has very little, if anything, to do with his work once he's written it. But the fact that he came in and did the commentary on it, I watched the movie an entire time just for the commentary because I love Cormac McCarthy and love to hear him speak. He has so much interesting stuff to say.
So is this Tommy Lee Jones? Do you know if it's his directorial debut? Or?
I don't know, but stop talking for a second and I'll look at my phone and I'll tell you.
Okay.
I want to say no, but just because he's so old. No, it's not his director.
Oh, what was it?
Something called The Good Old Boys.
So, what do you think of the actors' interpretation of the characters?
You know what? Both of them totally brought their A game. Really drove home the characters for me. I 100% totally, if I had to see this movie with no title card, I'd have known exactly what it was within 30 seconds. Just because they capture the characters so well. That's if I had read the book and then had to watch the movie with no title card, sometime later I would have known. That's the Sunset Levy.
Yeah, Tommy Lee Jones does capture the morose and resigned nature of White. And, I do believe Samuel L. Jackson as an optimist. Even when at the same time he was appearing in the Avengers movies
and had nothing to be optimistic about as far as cinema was concerned.
Right, yeah. But no, even at the end when he's trying to talk to White as he's storming out, and when he's talking to God, he does still seem like he has at least a glimmer of hope left to a point.
Which, for a Cormac McCarthy work, is merciful. It's the closest you're going to get to a happy ending. That's not true, but And believe me, if nothing else, if you get nothing else from this video, it is read Cormac McCarthy's books. They are phenomenal. He is one of the great writers of our time. But let's go ahead and talk about The Comeback,
Okay. Yeah.
as it has come to be known on YouTube.
Yeah. So Tommy Lee Jones is mostly silent throughout most of the work, but he does offer some concise and poignant points throughout. But it's
And a lot of it is prying on Samuel L. Jackson's part. On Black's part. Right?
Yeah. And accusing him of being facetious. But yeah, Black does offer most of the dialogue up until White's comeback.
Yes. Which is, without a doubt, one of the most powerful scenes I have ever watched on the screen. Where he just becomes very animated. He walks around the apartment and he completely just tries to lay waste to Black's worldview and his outlook on life in general. My favorite line from it is, "You asked what I'm a professor of. I'm a professor of darkness." I love that. That's my favorite. That's probably my favorite line from the whole thing. But The Comeback is my favorite scene.
Yeah, something I noticed when I was reading. I read it a little bit after I saw the movie, but after White's comeback, he sits back down and does he sit back down? I don't remember, but
I think he leans over like the back of Black's chair.
Yeah.
Where he might sit down. I don't remember.
Yeah, but no, he says sorry. And in the novel it seemed as if he was being sincere, but when I watched it it was more of a sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, you can't help me.
I'm sorry.
It was kind of like, sorry I tripped you, but you should have been watching your feet.
Right, yeah, because earlier on he apologizes and he says, what does he say? Oh, he says, I'm sorry I've offended you, and that does also seem sincere, so I kind of thought, it was the same, but it just seemed like as if he's stuck in his ways, stuck in his way of thinking, and he's just trying to resign to the fact that Black can't change how he thinks.
And I don't think it was ever his intention to change how Black thinks. But the reason we call it The Comeback is, that's what it's known as on YouTube. But in my point of view, my belief was that it was sort of this is what you get for preaching to me for the last 90 minutes.
Oh, yeah? That's how you took it?
That is how I took it. But, because, it's a total rebuttal against everything Black believes.
I took it more as if Black was kind of a parental figure who doesn't really understand his angsty teenager, and then White goes, "You don't understand, Mom. This is how I feel."
Oh, like that Will Smith song.
What? What's up?
Parents just don't understand.
Oh yeah, yeah, like that. Yeah.
So now that we're at the end, we want to talk about, between the book and the movie, which one we prefer. Now, Rahbert, what about you in your case?
Let's see.
It's worth mentioning that the movie cuts almost nothing out of what's in the book. There's probably like 2 or 3 paragraphs.
Yeah. It's very faithful. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's that black and white. No, I'm sorry. I got something to mention.
No, it's good. It's good. Leave it in there. Leave it in there or I'll fucking kill you.
I guess I prefer the movie. Maybe because I saw it first, privacy bias, I don't know. But I think I prefer the movie.
I prefer the movie too. It really captures the rapid fire dialogue and you see the characters moving around and the tired dreariness in Tommy Lee Jones's voice. I love the part where he's on the couch and Samuel L. Jackson's like, "Did you go see your dad? No. Did your mom ask you to? No. Yes, you did. Okay, yes.
Yeah, or the part, where they're doing math.
Oh yeah, and he's
Yeah.
really quick. You really get a sense of how fast Black's character is with multiplying by 40.
Yeah. Let me see that. How do you do that?
4,720. 188,800.
Yeah, this is really good.
So, yes, we prefer the movie, it would seem, but the book, still incredible, 100% recommend.
Yeah, of course.
It's one of my favorite films, and probably my favorite Cormac McCarthy adaptation. Those of you getting ready to pound into your keyboards, what about No Country for Old Men? Clearly you haven't seen The Sunset Limited. But it's apples and pears. This is a vastly different movie with a vastly different message. It's not about the battle of good and evil. It's just about... It's about a lot of things.
And it's not that black and white.
You always with that. Okay. So that's it. We're gonna go suck each other's now. And the end.
Okay.
Love this.
Yeah.
Thanks, YouTube. We'll see you next time.